guys, this is Adam and welcome to Shiny Tech Reviews, the show that gives you simple tech reviews for the everyday user. Now today I'm going to be reviewing the Sony AX100 prosumer camcorder. Now this camera could be seen as a point and shoot handycam because every camcorder in Sony's line is, but it's got really good manual controls that a lot of professionals would latch onto. Now of course it's 4K, so you know, come on, 4K is like the latest thing, isn't it? It's got a 1-inch sensor, which for a camera of this size is really impressive, and it's quite similar to some lenses found in DSLR cameras. Now talking of the manual settings, you've got a lot of control here to get your shots as precise as you want them. So if you look on the side of the camera, there's an autofocus / manual button, and that switches between auto settings and manual settings. The auto settings are quite good. Sometimes the autofocus can be quite slow. It takes a couple of minutes sometimes to focus in on something that you want the camera to. So for more professional users, then obviously you can just use the manual focus and you've got full control over everything. There's also iris, ISO and shutter speed buttons for full control over how much light you let into the camera. ISO for the different settings of how bright you want to make your image. So it's all there. We've got a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is really good because that means you can monitor your audio as you're recording it for full control. The built-in microphone's pretty good for a camcorder. If you're a professional, I wouldn't suggest using onboard sound in any camera, but it has got 5.1 surround sound, which is pretty impressive. It's not directional, which means if you're in a noisy environment, the camera will record in full circle. Everything around you, in front of you, at the side. It can be really off-putting. So I would suggest using an external microphone for more professional audio. Now one of the things that's annoying about all Sony camcorders is when you open the side viewfinder, it powers on. Now sometimes you just need to open the side viewfinder to access more buttons and controls on the camera. Now there is a power button that you can quickly press to shut down the camera if you don't want it to turn on. But come on Sony, we've been asking model after model, stop making the camera power on when you open the viewfinder, and you just don't seem to be listening. Now when you're outdoors on bright days, your image can get very blown out, and that's why it's got 3 modes of built-in ND filters, and basically that means sunglasses for the camera. You can set it on modes 1 to 3 to get the desired effect, to stop that blown out, washed out, bright, unclear image from ever happening in your shot. Another problem you've got on bright sunny days is you sometimes can't even see the side viewfinder, but that's why it's got the OLED viewfinder. So just pull it out, look through it, and I'll tell you what, the image, the actual picture quality of this is absolutely amazing. For such a tiny little thing that you've got to squint to get a look at, it really helps you on those type of days where you can't see what you're filming. Now obviously it's got the famous Sony proprietary Hotshoe. Now that means you can mount a microphone, a flash, a video light, and the thing is the camera actually powers that device through the camera. Now it does mean that the battery life is gonna not last as long, but it's quite cool that you can use a Sony accessory without having to worry about spare batteries. On the flip side, you could say, well, you don't want to use Sony accessories. Why can't I use a universal shoe mount and use any microphone? Well, you can, just not officially. So I purchased a Sony Hotshoe to universal Hotshoe adapter, and it just slides on the top, and then on the top of that adapter you can just slide on anything like a Rode Video Mic Pro, for instance, which is what I use. Now the downside of that is you will need external batteries, so you'll need batteries in the Rode Video Mic Pro or batteries in your video light or whatever, because that's sort of closed off, that connection to the Sony Hotshoe, which means that it's got no way of powering it. So anything that's non-Sony will have to be powered separately, but it also means that it saves on your camera battery. So it's personal preference on that one. If you're used to Sony cameras, the menu's quite easy to navigate. I'm quite impressed with it. If you're new to it, you might find it quite hard at first, but after a couple of days or up to a week, you'll be full up to speed with the menus. Me using Sony cameras for the last 3 or 4 cameras that I've owned, It's once you've used one Sony camera, you've used them all. Now of course you can record in 4K. That's the whole point of this wonderful camera. You can record in full quality 100 megabits per second. Now you do need an SDXC card that's U3 class 10 to be able to record 4K. Anything lower, if you've got it in 4K mode and you press record, it just won't record. The HD on this camera, again because of the 1-inch sensor, is still phenomenal picture quality. So really you can't go wrong with buying this to future-proof yourself and shooting in HD now, and then when 4K becomes more available in terms of the content you can view, you've already got the 4K on the camera. Now on the top you've got the zoom rocker, so anyone who's ever used a camcorder, they'll know that the zoom rocker is your zooming in and out controls. I prefer to use this because I'm used to camcorders. Now the ring on the front, you can set the manual focus or zoom. Because I like using the zoom rocker and I like the position of it and I'm just used to holding the camera in that particular way, I have the ring set to manual focus, not zoom. Now obviously this review is from a videographer's point of view. It does take stills, and I do believe it's 14 megapixels. So obviously the idea is that if you're out and about with this and you do see a good photo opportunity, just hit the photo button on the top of the camera and it takes a still. And I think you'd be impressed with the quality of the stills actually. Again, because of that 1-inch sensor, you've got a camcorder that actually takes DSLR-like quality photographs. After long terms of use, this camera can get pretty heavy. I mean, it's not really that big, but because of the 1-inch sensor, it's got some weight to it. So if you're filming live events or anything that, you know, you're going to be holding it for long periods of time, what I tend to use is, I use a Manfrotto monopod. With the built-in image stabilization on the camera, plus the monopod, it takes the strain off your arms. You don't feel like you're holding a heavy camera because it's supported by, obviously, the monopod. And it means you get lovely steady shots combined with the image stabilization and the monopod. So who would I recommend this camera to? I would recommend it to anyone who just wants a camera that'll work out of the box. The auto settings are really good if you just want to film, you know, weddings, kids' birthday parties, you know, make home movies. Might be a little bit out of your price range for that price. You might want to go for something like the Sony AX100, which is about £300 cheaper. It hasn't got as good a sensor, but it is really good for its money. If you're a professional, I think you'll be surprised at how professional this camera is. Compared to cameras that you would be used to using if you are a professional videographer, this camera is small, and that's its selling point, I think, to professionals. You've got full manual control over most things, and unless you're an absolute video purist, I don't think there's many limitations. I don't think that's going to affect your work at all. The manual controls are excellent for professional video shoots. So there you go. That's my simple review of the Sony AX100 by Sony. Now, it's been out about 2.5 years now. It's about £1,300 UK at the minute, and I still think it holds up, and they haven't really brought out a sort of update to that camera yet, so it's technically still the most current model at that price point and at that quality, where it sort of bridges the gap between everyday user and professional. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you need to know anything about anything, please write it in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review video.